And this is a follow-up video to the two videos that I already did. And this one, I'm asking you if you think being a Gen X or being my age, which is 55, qualifies me to be on this channel. Well, let me tell you, yes, I am a Gen X. I am right in the middle of the Gen X generation. And even though a lot of people think that we're the worst generation, I happen to think that we might be the best generation. And let me tell you why. The reason is because we grew up, most of us grew up without technology, and we have had to learn. We have had to learn how to use a computer. We have had we have had to learn how to navigate social media. And I know Facebook is for people like us, but we're not going to stop there. We're going to go to Instagram, we're going to go to the YouTube channels. We're going to do everything that we're not expected to do. So being 55 years old means that we've been around for a while. We've witnessed changes. We're also the mothers of the Gen Z generation. We have to deal with the Gen Zs. Those are our children. So being 55 years old, I believe, well, I'll let you figure that out. I'll let you work out if you think that that qualifies us. But I can tell you that at this age, we've been through it. We've seen all of it. We have transitioned from no tech to full tech, and we're still here. We're able to learn quickly, we're fast learners, and I'm sure you can all attest to that. In addition, we don't care, right? We know that we're not accountable to anyone. We're not afraid to speak our minds. Anyone who is in this age range will tell you that we really don't feel that we have to account to anyone. We don't sugarcoat things. We tell you things as they are. And we know that you don't have to have a flat stomach to have a flat stomach. That is the advantage of being a Gen X, because we know it all, not in that way, but we have experienced enough for us to be able to tell you things as they are. So if you think that qualifies me to be here, what I have just said, leave that in the comment section. Does being married for 3 decades mean that I qualify to be here? Well, it depends on how you look at it. Marriage is a special thing. I think it's a wonderful thing when you get it right. It's also not easy. It can be challenging. And unfortunately, there are no manuals to a perfect marriage, because the people who are involved are individuals who have their own personalities. And I think it's an incredible thing that two people who were born of different parents, grew up differently or separately, will actually come together to form a unit that is completely different from the unit where either of them come from. It takes a lot of work to have that kind of relationship. And, I can tell you that I learned a lot. I got married when I was 25 years old. I had no clue when I first got married. I did not know what I was doing. I just went into it believing everything was going to be hunky dory. And I can tell you today that I have a very happy marriage. I wouldn't switch it for anything different. And has it been easy? No, it hasn't been easy at all. I have had to sacrifice a lot, and I'm sure that my husband also had to sacrifice a lot. You have to come to a compromise, and in fact, that's what marriage is all about. It's about coming to a compromise. And so, being married for 30 years, I know so many people who've been married for longer, and people who are just getting married. And there's so many things that people are experiencing nowadays that I know that we went through those times. And I see people having difficulties with those times. And I feel that being here, that I'm able to contribute, I'm able to say a word or two, and maybe somebody can learn a trick that they can use to navigate through that challenging time. So, does that qualify me? Please let me know in the comment section. Also, a mom to four wonderful kids, four different individuals with four different personalities, four different routes, four different journeys. And it's amazing. I always believed before I got married that when you have children, that they're going to be just like you, that your children are just going to duplicate you, that if you were quiet, that your children were going to be quiet, and if you were an extrovert, that you're going to end up with extroverts as kids. But no, of course not. That's not how it works. And they're all different in their own special ways, and they're all different human beings, and their needs are also different. And the way that you approach them is also different. You can't just say because the first one responded, or you were able to communicate with the first one in this way, that it would necessarily work with the others. No, it doesn't work like that. And I had to learn that way. And I think that having gone through that, I feel that perhaps there are ways that we can help people who are going through that period. My children are also adults, and I know that there are times ahead that they haven't gone through yet, that I haven't experienced yet. And I'm hoping that there will be people who will be willing to share their experiences when their kids were older than mine are. And, perhaps I'll be able to learn through those experiences and be ready when the time comes. Does that qualify me? I have no idea, but we're going to find out. I was born in Nigeria, and I left Nigeria when I was 14 and a half years old, went to England, and then came to here. I think this particular experience has been, I can't even begin to tell you how useful that experience has been in my life, because my husband was born and bred in Nigeria, and the children were all born here. So I'm the bridge between the two sides. And you can imagine the kind of conversations that come up sometimes, or the kind of requests that come up sometimes. Some of them could be very basic, and some of them can be very complex. But having experienced Nigeria and understanding how things work there in terms of parenting, because I grew up in Nigeria, my parents were just your typical Nigerian parents. And then having grown up in England mostly, I can see the conflicts, and I can see the situations that could arise that can potentially cause problems. And I feel that being in the position where I know both worlds means that I can somehow be the compromise in the middle. I always say that I'm where the East meets West, and that has helped us a lot. I've often had to talk to my children and say, this is the reason why your daddy feels this way, and maybe you need to look at it in a different way. Maybe this is what you need to do to approach him to see if the response will be different. And then I would go to my husband and say, this is the reason why they say this, and we need to trust them. Maybe we can set goals and say, this is what will happen if this happened. If they wanted to go out, for instance, my husband, going out at nights is a no-no. And I really don't like it. But, kids nowadays, they like to go out and do things in the evenings. And, we have the Life 360 and the iPhone tracker, and you can keep an eye on where they are, because that's really what you're concerned about, is their safety. And I've had to say to my husband, okay, we can see where they are. How about if we let them go and say, come back at 10 and see what happens? And often that worked. They would go out and they'll come back at 10. Or I'll say, make sure you respond to every text that I send you. Otherwise, we will think that there's something wrong. And they have done that. And so I think that being in that position is just priceless for me. And I'm hoping that that means that I'm able to be here and contribute to anyone who's listening. And I hope that kind of qualifies me to be here to a certain extent. Let's see what happens with that. I've also owned businesses. I have been employed. I have owned an online business. I've also owned a front store business. Does that qualify me to be here? We'll see. There are challenges that come with those. For instance, work-life balance, the advantages and the disadvantages, the different kinds of pressures. These are the things that affect us as human beings, as parents. Do you have time for your children? Does working for yourself mean that you have more time to spend at home? Does being employed mean that you don't get to be there for your children when you need them? Those are all things that surround families, and we'll see how that qualifies me to be in this space. And I hope that all these reasons that I've given kind of qualify me to at least be in this space and still be able to speak to some issues. And if you like what's going on right now, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and until the next time, I will see you soon. Goodbye.